Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a quick look here at Bitcoin, kind of see what's going on. If you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, just love to teach people how to trade. Hopefully you can learn a thing or two here today. And if you want to learn a lot more, obviously join my community that I offer. I have a trading academy, signal group, private chat, the full 9 yards, pretty much a one-stop shop for everything crypto. So hopefully you can learn what you can here, of course, but if not, you want more in-depth training, let me know, of course. CryptoCache.tech is the website, link in the description below. So taking a look here at Bitcoin, what we're going to do is, of course, try to find out what's going on. Obviously, we have about a 7, almost, is it? Hold on, I think it's about 7%. Nope. From bottom to top, 9% travel in one trading day. Now, this trading day isn't over yet, right? We've got about 8 hours left of trading. So try not to get too ahead of yourselves here. We want to wait for the one-day candlestick to close to give us any true affirmation of what's going on. But obviously the price trending closer to the major Fibonacci retracement level of 40,250 is a pretty big deal, right? So that's important to be able to break that plane. Now, if we can break above that, of course, and close above that here today, it'd be a much different story than if we close below. Also keep in mind too, closing above 38,800 is a key level as well. Not saying the price will necessarily retrace between now and then, but there is still potential because we need to understand that this all happened. Majority of this volume occurred in one time frame. Like it was literally as soon as the market opened at 7 a.m. here, you look, see 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we've got 3 candlesticks to total, almost 9% growth. That is too much movement in a short amount of time, in my personal opinion. I would rather wait to see what happens. Yes, potential of a short is there. Don't get me wrong, shorting this could be advantageous, but we gotta wait for confirmation, kind of see where we're at first, okay? So please be careful with shorting at this point, because obviously if you were in a short position in the first place, you might have already been liquidated. I'm not sure exactly what the specifics are, but I know there's a lot of short contracts that just got taken out here today. So a lot of times the volume increases like that purposely to squeeze out those shorts and to effectively help the price action get back on track, but there's literally no selling pressure in the last 3 hours. We got to be aware of that. Where's the selling pressure going to come? Okay, it's going to come at a major resistance level, which could very well be 40,250, right? So just something to be mindful of. I just exercise, caution when I see stuff like this. I know it's like, you get kind of these red eyes and you want to just get in and start making that money. It's like, ooh, this is a perfect short opportunity. Try not to think that just yet, because obviously we don't have enough data. But on top of that, you don't want to ruin yourself. You're going to do a stop loss. That's okay. Make a decently tight stop, and ensure that you're in a good place to have a short position, right? All right. Anyways, just exercise caution. That's all I ask in this scenario here, because there's literally no evidence that this is here to stay just yet. But there's also no evidence it's going to just turn right around either, okay? So we got to recognize that. All right. So what I'll have to do is I'll probably take a look at Bitcoin again here soon, but let's look at some of the obvious stuff that we have right now. Obviously, its 50-day SMA is a little ways away. Don't need to worry about that. RSI is making an attempt at 50. Okay, so if we see this attempt at 50, it hasn't broken above yet. The one-day candlestick hasn't closed. But generally speaking, if we break above that plane and close above, that would be a good sign, right? Now, keep in mind, there's often times where the price will come up above, which we've seen it happen before, and come back immediately below the 50 on the RSI. All right, so there's no guarantees, even if we get a one-day candlestick close here, that that's going to be the case and it's going to stick around. But it would be very helpful to have it close to that point so we can get that confirmation we're kind of heading towards, heading in the right direction, okay? So again, there's just some things there as well. Another thing we want to maybe quickly take a look at here is the weekly. So we do see a nice step up on the weekly, of course. That is looking good. Obviously, it hasn't closed yet. We got a couple more days of trading left, but that is a nice looking candlestick, right? That's a, basically, I think that's a bullish hammer up, if you will. So definitely looking good in that sense. I like where the 1 week handles are going and also the 1 day. Once again, we're up over 50 for the moment tentatively, but the day hasn't closed yet, so try not to get ahead of yourself, okay? But what we can see obviously here is that 70 on the RSI is getting tested. Notoriously, when you see 70 on the RSI getting tested on the 4-hour chart specifically, you will notice that the price has a tendency of, I wouldn't say rejecting at that price point, but it's less common for the price to shoot above 70 on the RSI for a very long time, right? And if it were to say it continues up, you can expect it to come back down. And usually when the price is coming back down closer to 70 on the RSI, that's when you want to consider selling. So if you have an open position right now for a long position, you might want to consider leaving it open until we get that closure, so to speak, or that indication is going to turn around. But right now it's peaking up over 70, and that's usually right at the point where, if you look back at its history, it rarely comes up over 70 and stays over 70, right? So we can expect some pullback and essentially probably some consolidation at this resistance level here before it legs up again if it were to. I think it legging up again is a very low probability just based on the fact that we're up 9% in under what I think is pretty close to about 3 hours worth of trading. And that is a significant amount of growth in a short amount of time. Things have to calm down. That is not a healthy pattern, right? We want a good, healthy staircase pattern, and this is just a straight shot upwards. And these are things I like to try to avoid personally, and just recognize that the likelihood of it continuing much higher is fairly low, right? So that could indicate that a short position is possibly advantageous, but again, I would exercise extreme caution if you're going to be using leverage. Just make sure you're careful. But we do have a MACD convergence, of course, here on the 4-hour chart, and that took place right here at about 1 a.m. Of course, we were sound asleep, most of us at that time, but that's roughly when we got the MACD convergence, right? So that is essentially a good sign there. So big picture, macros looking much better than it has before, right? We're testing 50 on the RSI, we're looking good. 4-hour chart's telling us a very good sign here that we have a significant shift in momentum. We are not quite even at a 6 yet for TD sequential, so hypothetically we could have 12 more hours of bullish continuation. I personally feel that we're going to have the most information that we need when the candlestick closes because of the fact that the trading day is over in the traditional market. There's a reason why 7 a.m. the price shot up, right? There's something significant in the traditional market that caused this to happen, okay? Now, it doesn't look like it, by the looks of it, that NASDAQ has anything to do with this. So do your own research, of course, but if you see the price shooting up at 7 a.m., it's common to see the price kind of drop closer to the close of the day because whomever started this push is going to try to take their profits before the weekend. They're not going to hold over the weekend. That's a very unlikely scenario. So you need to kind of understand that traditional trading day is going to factor in here because, again, this opened at 7 o'clock, which is right when the market opens, or very close to, of course, and obviously when the market closes, we could expect them to consider taking their profits. I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to shoot straight down from there, but we could very well see a dip near the closer end of the day, closer to the trading day close, okay? All right, that's kind of where we're at there. So the midterm looks good too. Just generally speaking, we're not overextended. Yes, this is an extremely large set of candlesticks, and I don't expect it to go much higher, but we still have a little while longer before we can expect this to taper off, right? This could very well continue for a little while longer. So just know that. And here's those 3 hours I'm talking about, right? Here is a 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or correction, that's Mountain Standard Time, sorry. And then of course we got 8 and 9 o'clock, right? So the last 3 hours have just been quite significant. Once again, that is a total from bottom to top of 8.5%. So that's a very significant growth in the short amount of time. So just know that anytime that happens, the price usually comes back down. If you're going to consider, some type of trading scenarios here, Bollinger Bands are really good to kind of help you understand standard deviation. Also recommend volume weighted average price on 15-minute or lower time frame. That really helps out a lot. Understanding how far outside of these lines we are. In fact, let's touch on that really quick. So you see this standard deviation here? The price is well outside of the boundary, so it's going to have to come back down. So again, likelihood of it staying much higher than 40,250 is pretty low. Okay. Again, just to kind of drive that home for you so you understand. Now the 1 hour, let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm curious where we're at in the cloud, of course. Obviously, we're going to be above. Yeah, we got all green lights here to essentially hold our long position if you have one. Now, I'm sure the majority of you don't necessarily have a long position just based on the fact that we had this head and shoulders pattern forming on the 4-hour chart. That is null and void. I think I saw some people in my chat talking about a camel pattern where you see the two humps and then the head, right? Now, this is not an established candlestick pattern, or maybe that's a Loch Ness monster. I'm not sure, but obviously, you got a scenario here where it's definitely obtuse, right? This is not common type of characteristic for Bitcoin or any type of trading, right? Commonly, the price were to come back down at this point. Now, the fact that it didn't really reiterates the fact that we have higher highs so far. Now, we don't have a higher low in place, but we do have a higher high, right? So obviously, this low is lower than that, right? But this high is higher than this. So that being said, we could very well see the next low come down to somewhere around 38,800 to test that as a potential support. All right, that could be the likely scenario. So if you're to consider shorting, again, very cautious. From where the price is at right now, down to 38.8 could be a possibility, okay? So just something to think about. because that was a key level resistance previously, and obviously the price is blown right past that. So if it's going to come back down, it'll come back there or back down to 37,000. Now, big picture, because I get this question too, is the price going to come down to 33 or 37 anytime soon? Well, that remains yet to be seen. We've got to wait for a lot of confirmations first to identify that. Yes, there's a probability the price could just drop like a rock, right? It very well depends on a lot of fundamental stuff that we don't have control over. And obviously what I think we will see happen is probably some type of decrease in price near the end of today's trading day. I don't think it'll sustain 40,250 for the remainder of the trading day. If it does, great, it'll consolidate at resistance, eventually break through that. If it gets rejected at 40,500, which is the likelihood here, that's my guess, 40,000, 250, 40,500, right in that range, then we're going to see the price come down likely around 38.8. That would probably be the next available support that we should expect to see. Okay, so just be mindful of, of that. I know there's a lot of kind of things to take into consideration here, but I would just want you to exercise caution going into this, because obviously there's going to be a lot of people that are just super hyped and want you to FOMO in. That very well could be the case, right? We could be in the beginning of the next bull market. That's okay. If that happens, that's fantastic. But I wouldn't trust, 3 hours worth of volume as the catalyst to cause the market to just turn around and act like nothing happened, right? We're still in the midst of a very crazy, stupid inflation scenario and a lot of other factors that are going to eventually have an impact here. So again, don't just go willy-nilly all in and forget to set a stop loss. If you are going to go long, by all means, set a stop loss somewhere in the range of just say 38,700, just below that key level support. Heaven forbid the price comes down, bounce off 38, you get stopped out, then it's okay. You can find the next trade, okay? But if the price were to keep going straight down, then you would be really upset that you didn't do that, right? So again, if you, obviously, I'm speaking to some of my community members here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have all this stuff I've covered in my Trading Academy. I've got a series of videos on how to, keep emotion out of the equation, how to cut your losses. There are things you need to do to get okay with eventually as being a trader. You can't just keep taking a trade and just keep moving your stop loss down because you think it's going to recover. Accept the loss and move on, right? That can happen, and that's a reality. Anyways, enough about that. I think you get what I'm saying here. Just, again, be cautious. Try not to be super optimistic here. This is a lot of movement in a short amount of time, and it's a fairly large concern in that sense. To me, I get red flags in my mind that when I see this, and I don't instantly just jump into a short position or a long position because it's happening and everyone else is excited, okay? Do your own diligence. Make sure you look at everything abstractly and try not to get caught up in the hype, okay? Just some friendly caution word of advice there. But at this point, I would say two things we want to try to look at is that, if Bitcoin can close above 40,250 and consolidate nicely this weekend at that price point, I think we'll probably be in pretty decent shape. Right now, it's too premature, in my opinion, to think that way. So I think that, if we get the price to come back down, it'll probably come down to test 38,800. That'll probably be the next key level potential support for Bitcoin now that it's broken through that, okay? And obviously, if it comes down and consolidates at that support, we'll have to bridge that gap and worry about that later and figure it out. But for now, I would just make sure that you you set your stop losses accordingly, work within your risk tolerance, and make sure you don't do anything just kind of because other people are doing it, right? I hate to see that happen sometimes. And make your own decisions, come to your own conclusions, and hopefully, you can get where you need to go. Just make sure you're cautious and careful. All right, I'm sorry. I sound like a broken record. I hope you understand my concern here. It is valid, and just I don't love when I see this type of price action. It's actually disturbing in a lot of ways because it shouldn't happen, and it's unnecessary in a lot of ways. But that's just the world of crypto. That's what you have to deal with, and this is just how it works. So better get used to it because this is just the reality of cryptocurrency. All right, well, I hope you learned something here today. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a definitive answer on which direction it's heading. It's honestly just too premature. We need to wait for the one-day candlestick to close and then kind of figure out and reevaluate at that time, right? We need more data. There's not enough data here. Trust me, 8.5% for Bitcoin in 3 hours is way too much movement. We're going to see some interesting stuff here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Looking forward to it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you're not currently a community member, consider joining. I look forward to getting to know you better. Have a good one. Thank you.